So the problem with the Chevy Volt batteries that they're oriented in a 6S configuration, which basically brings you all the way up to 4.2 multiplied by 6, 25.2 volts when they're full, and 18 volts, so 3 multiplied by 6 when they're empty. But most inverters, including those ones, don't necessarily like this kind of voltage. They're okay with 20 volts on the low side. They're definitely okay with 25.2, but not really optimal. The problems that I have is that it shuts down before the batteries are actually completely empty. And more so, those inverters are hybrid inverters, meaning that they do feed the grid, but currently they don't, because they only do it when the batteries are above 26 volts, which those batteries will never get above 26 volts because they're 6S. So how do you take this and make this a 7S configuration that will align a little bit better with what those inverters actually looking for, or most inverters I should say. So the idea behind it is that I have here 4 batteries. Each one of the batteries is 200 amp hour. Again, 6S, so let's say nominal 22 volts. So we're talking about 800 amp hour of 22 volts. And the idea is to actually add another battery, which I'm working on right now, which will only bring it to one more S. So what you see here is that the LG, I don't know exactly which one are those. Those are rated for 2.6 amp per battery. I'm actually measured a couple of those. They're brand new, and they're producing 3 amp hour each one of those. So if I have 300 of those multiplied by let's say 3 or 2.5, it's close to the 800 amp hour that I have from the Chevy Volt batteries. So the idea behind it is just to make it 1S, so this is all going to be in parallel to each other, and then create here a plus big bus bar, and on the other side a minus big bus bar, and then connected to the batteries, this is the last minus, connect that minus to the plus of this battery, and then connect the inverter minus, those 2 lines go to each one of the inverters, to the minus side of this battery. Overall, it will raise the voltage by, close to 4 volts or 4.2 when it's full, which will get this inverter to, those inverters to easily pass the 26 volts before those batteries are empty, and then feed the grid. And also it will not shut down at at the lowest level. I mean, it will shut down at 20 volts. Since I have 7S, 7 multiplied by 3 volts at the low side, 21 volt, great. I can configure it to shut down before that, let's say 22 volts or 21.5 volts, whatever I'll decide, before they're completely empty, but at least I'll get a little bit more juice out of those batteries. So in the bottom side, which you can see right now, I just connected the bus bars to the batteries with a simple line, which is not fused. But on the plus side, what I'm doing, what you can see here, and you can find a lot of those examples on the internet. I'm taking those fuses. Here they are. They come like this, and they only allow 4 amp to pass. Those batteries are rated to 10 amp. I actually don't need 10 amp. Overall, when I'm charging my car, I need roughly 200 amp from everything. So 200 amp will go against this batteries. Let's say 300 amp, just to make the calculation easy. That's 1 amp per battery because there are 300 of those. So I don't really need 4 amp, but those are rated for 10 amp. So why limit it to 1 amp? And this is a bit of pain in the butt, and takes a long time. But I bought 12 gauge cable, exposed copper. I just make it a straight line, put it under this, and then with the drill, I coupled three of those, three lines, and this is the end results. Basically, you see it looks like a combined cable, and the combined cable, if you do the math, three 12 gauge cable is about 7 gauge. So I got 7 gauge multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's more than enough to draw the 200 amp or 300 amp that I need from those batteries. And the method is basically to solder a little dot on each one of the batteries. Let me show you here. Here, this is not connected yet, as you can see. So little one here, it's really tough to remove it. I can't even remove it. And then on the bus bar itself, put a little dot as well. You can see here the little dots, which is a little bit hard to do. You gotta make sure that the bus bar is actually heated enough. So it takes a little time, and it's a little bit of pain in the butt. And then you take 2 of those and you strand them together, and then you solder one side to the bus bar, and then you can see it's split to the battery itself, and then you just cut the edges so you wouldn't have anything touching what's not. This is really tough. You can see I can't really move it. It's really tough. And when I'll finish all that, I'll put a bus bar here, like a little piece of metal, maybe 2 in a sandwich, don't know yet, we'll see. And then make a hole there, and then connect it to the batteries with a 4 gauge cable or 2 gauge cable. I just need to do the math what I need. I think 4 gauge will be for more than enough. So that's the idea. How it's going to work, I don't know yet. I'll keep you posted. So this is the top or bottom, doesn't matter, of the 300 batteries. So what I'm doing, I'm putting a nail in the middle of each one of where the battery's bottom or top will be, and then the idea would be that I'm going to run a wire between them, and the bus bar will be in the middle like this, and then it's just going to be very easy to solder it, because it's going to be fixed, nothing is going to move. So basically that's the idea. So now that I'm ready, I'm just going to run the wire. It's fairly simple to do it, even with one hand. And I'll run it all the way to the end, and then I'll show you in the end. This is how 300 batteries look like, just to compare to my hand, so it'll be clear. There's a lot. This is really exciting to me. I just finished soldering all the batteries with both fuses and just normal connections on the other side. What can I say? This is very, very tedious. If you really think about it, there are 300 batteries. Each one is connected twice in this side and the other side. And there's also connections for the fuses themselves, or the cable on the other side. I mean, the wires on the other side. So it's overall like, I don't know, 1,500 solders. That's a pain in the butt. If the one thing I can tell you, if you don't know how to solder, this will definitely make you an expert. So I don't want to say I'm an expert right now, but towards the end, it was just like muscle memory. So that's good news. Okay, so what's left? So I got at Home Depot. Hi, Chewy. Hi. This aluminum, which I'm gonna cut as the plus and the minus for the sides. So one will go here, the other one will go the other side. I'll just make a sandwich, and with screws I'm gonna tighten it to this. I don't feel like soldering that, and plus it's a big thing, so I'm just gonna make it really tight, and I'll show you at the end, and then we'll start experimenting. Okay, so the anode and cathode are completed. The one in the middle, I'll show it here. It's just gonna be, I'm just gonna put the connection to the other batteries through this one. So it's gonna go out, put the 4-gauge cable, 2-gauge cable here. Same thing here, so it's just a placeholder. So this is really tight. This one you can move because I didn't tighten this one yet, but those, you can't move those, absolutely not. So this is it. I think we're ready for the experiment. Okay, so I know this looks a little bit bad, but I promise you it will all be in this nice box at some point. But this is basically done. This is the new battery, 300 batteries, and it is connected, the minus of all the batteries to the plus of this battery. This is a 3.7 volt battery, or 3 to 4.2. The minus connected all the way to the inverters. They're shut off right now because I'm gonna test this before actually powering it on. So I connected the plus that goes to the inverters, and I'm gonna touch the minus that will go to the inverters and show you the voltage. And the voltage is 25.1. Now, before that, if I'm gonna connect to the last minus on this battery before this battery was connected, here I'm doing it now, the voltage was 21.5. So basically it's the end of the day. I used all the batteries, and I'm getting 25.1 versus another21.5. It's confusing. All the way up to 25.1. So basically we added 3.6 volts, which is exactly what we wanted. Wonderful. So now I'm going to power the inverters, and let's hope for good. All right, so let me connect 1, 2. Okay, they're coming up. Let's see what this one thinks. Yep, 25 volts. Let's see what this one thinks. 25 volts. Lovely. And now they're getting into the two phases. So this will display P1, phase 1, hard to see. And this will display phase 2, P2. And because the battery looks like it's above the minimum voltage, which used to be 22 volts, I'll need to change all the settings now. It actually powered the AC. You heard the click, and you can see here in the picture, sorry it's hard to see, that the batteries are connected to here. The battery is connected to the utility or the output. So all I'm left to do is to try and charge my car. So let's see. So here you can see the charger is red light here. Let me plug in the charger. Okay, green light, blue light, it's charging. Let's see what's the load. Start here cranking, so you see the battery drop to 24.4 because it's pulling right now 1.84 kilowatt here, and same thing here, 1.84, 1.88, 83, there you go, kilowatt here as well. So basically close to 3.9 kilowatt is being pulled right now from those 4 batteries and the new one that I added, and I'm gonna check in a moment. Basically that beep was that solar went off, and solar went off because it's just, what time is it, 8:30, which is right on time. Let me just show you. See, solar is no longer producing power, so it's all coming from the batteries. Oh, solar came back. Sometimes, you know, at the end of the day it comes back, it's off, so you're gonna hear those clicks. Anyway, I'm gonna check if things get warm. I mean, it's interesting because now it's pulling 4 kilowatt hour, which is a lot, and keep you posted. All right, like quick update. So this is now running for about 15 minutes. This is warm, not warm even. It's just a little bit, you know, like room temperature or something. Maybe a little bit above. Can hardly feel it. As you can see, this cable here is pulling 183 amp. So basically from the battery it's 183 amp. The maximum I'll see probably is 200 amp. So this is well designed above that. Hey Chewy, hey honey. And that basically means that each one of those cable will have half of that, and you can see this is 91 and the other one is also going to be 91 because it's 2 inverters. Each one is getting half. So far so good. The beeping is because we're reaching 23. I set it to stop at 23 volts, which is about 3.3 volt per you know 1S or 1 battery. I can go lower, but I don't feel there's a need. It's charging my car at about 3.9, close to 4 kilowatt, and everything is cool. The batteries themselves are frozen. They're not hot at all. Yeah, nothing. And then the connections here are frozen too. Let me just put this away. And the connections here are frozen too. Yep, I can't feel anything. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And none of the fuses popped, obviously, because 200 amp divided by 300 batteries is less than an amp per battery, so no big deal at all. Those can do 10, and the fuse will pop at 4 amp anyway. So cool. That's it. I think that's going to be my update. Tomorrow will be interesting because the sun will come out and it will charge it. Stay away from this, honey. And I'm going to have to put this hole in this giant box, so little puppies like this one wouldn't be near it. Okay, so this is the day after, and 2 observations which are pretty interesting. Each one of the solar panels arrays that I have, the one on the left and the one on the right, are 2 kilowatt arrays, and this is designed for 2 kilowatt each one of those. Up until today, I scratched the 2 kilowatt on each one of them, but I never got to, you know, combine 4 kilowatt, you know, 3.8, 3.9. Today, it's not a great day. It's not a very sunny day. Of course, sometimes when there are clouds, there are bursts, but you know, there are many, many days. I'm running it for almost a year now. Today, I got the full 4K And my explanation is it's something to do with the MPP software here. When those batteries are now on higher voltage, the voltage now as compared to the past, let me show you. Now here you can see it's 26.3. I was never above 25 because I had you know, the Chevy Volt batteries with 6S, but now with the 7S that I added, the voltage is higher. So I think it's something to do with the software, the MPPsolar software, that basically, it's cranking up. I want to show you what's going on now. Maybe I'll catch it. It's designed for a little bit higher voltage than what I had, and come on, there you go. And I think it just works better. So this is one observation. The second observation, which I was more interested, of course, is how those batteries are doing. And you know, yesterday I discharged everything completely. Today I charged it. It's already about 60% of the batteries, something around that, somewhere around that. And everything is cool. Nothing is hot. The batteries look great. No fuses popped. It looks good. It looks really good, really promising. And I'm very, very happy with the results. Of course, time will tell. We need to wait a couple of months to see if it stays that way. There it is, here. We just missed it. There was a cloud out there, but I wanted to show you the full 2K. This is horrible. There you go. But maybe I'll hold it here for a second and see if there's going to be the sun is going to come out again. But no, both of them are now producing 1.5, 1.6 exactly at the same time. Now there's a cloud. But I wanted to show you the burst for the 2K or 4K combined. Maybe I'll hold it here while I'm speaking and it will happen again. So I also looked at the voltage of the new battery pack, which is 1S, compared to the voltage of the existing battery packs, which are 6S in parallel, the Chevy Volt batteries, and they were about the same. When I fully discharged, they reached about 3.3 volt per battery or per cell, and it was consistent between the new pack and the old giant, you know, Chevy Volt pack, which is really good, which means that it kind of balances itself. And although it's potentially different batteries and, you know, slightly different amp hour, but it works. So I'm thrilled. So that's it. I think I'm just going to let it run and maybe give you another update once I put it all in this giant box, so it would look a lot nicer. And oh, actually one more thing. So now that I respect the voltage that the MPPsolar needs in order to upload power to the grid, you can see something new here, and maybe it's not happening right now, but oh, there you go, it just happened. So the left side icon basically says this is the grid, the grid tie function. And right now from solar, it's going to utility, and it's also going to the battery. Since I'm not charging my car, most of it goes to the battery. Now, there's sometimes arrows going from the battery to the grid tie. You'll see it blinking here in a second. Right now, there's not too much power, meaning that the batteries are, you know, taking all the power from the solar, no problem. But in a second, you will see, as soon as the clouds will leave, that it actually starts pushing to the grid when there's enough power. Of course, with my luck, it's not going to show up right now, but the little arrows that you see that up here that showing to the right direction will show up here on the left direction. God damn it. Let me pause it and then I'll continue when it happens again. There we go, we got some sun. Let's see, maybe it will happen now. What you need to look at is arrows. arrows going to the grid. There you go, here are the arrows. I think you saw a little blink of the arrows there for a quick second. Here you go, you've seen them now when we peaked at like 1.9 kilowatts on this side, and also the other side was the same. So you've seen that happening. So there you go again, cool. So this is it. This is pretty long now, pulling above 2 kilowatt on both of them. I'm showing you one side, here's another side. 2.05. There was a second 2.05. This is insane. I've never seen that ever. I think really the function of the MPP solar is working much better with now with the 7S configuration compared to the 6S. So higher voltage on the way to the battery works better with their algorithms. There we go, it's climbing up 2 kilowatt, and the second one 2 kilowatt as well. It's crazy. First time I'm seeing that, and it's a cloudy day, but you see it's pretty consistent.